Hello class. Okay, this is a short lesson in how to draw the total cost family of curves. Now, I don't think it tells you in the book, there might be some reference to it, but it turns out that the total cost curves, which are first found on page 429, that they originate from here. If you take this total product function and remember what's on the axes, this was labor and this was total output, and you convert this axis into dollars, and the way you could do that is you could take labor, so this is like 1 worker, 2 workers, 3 workers, 4, 5 workers, 6 workers, 7 workers more, right? This is just units of labor, and if you multiplied it by the wage, you would then have the cost of the variable input, or in this case, the cost of labor on this axis. Right? Now, keeping that in mind, here's what happens. If you take that picture and you orient it in such a way that you have the cost on the vertical axis, and put the output on the horizontal axis, notice that's the opposite of the way it is here. We're going to put the output over there, and we're going to put the cost over there. The only way to do it is to turn the paper upside down and hold it up to a light and look through it from the other side. You will see that you get a function that looks like that. Now, in your book, if you look on page 429, in your book, they draw it just like that, but they leave this part off. They take out, oops, it's not working. They take out that part. I've often thought that was a bad idea because students don't remember where the total cost curve comes from. The reason they take it off is because when it doubles back like that, it's no longer a function. So I understand why they do it, but I always draw my total cost with that little thing hooked over the side. If you can remember your product function, this part down here was a zone of specialization, and this part in here was a zone of diminishing returns, and that little piece up there that hooks back was the old zone 3. Okay, so that's the total variable cost curve. Now the next one is really kind of simple, and it's the total fixed cost curve. And fixed cost is so simple because by definition, fixed costs are those costs that don't vary with output. So total fixed cost will just be some number, and it will just run straight across like that. Because by definition, these are all the kinds of costs that don't vary. So for example, if you had, let's say you had a little retail store someplace, and you were paying rent, and your rent was, I don't know, a couple $1,000s a month, it wouldn't make any difference whether you sold a lot of output or whether you just sold a little bit. Your rent is fixed every month. Another kind of fixed cost often is insurance and other kinds of things. So those costs that don't vary with your output, those are called the fixed cost. Now, we add those two together and we get total cost. So total cost is equal to total fixed cost plus total variable cost. Now to add them together, we're just going to take this variable cost function and we're going to lift it up by total fixed cost. And I'm going to show you a place that students oftentimes screw up. It starts here, that's obvious, right? Because we're just going to lift it from 0 up here, and then it marches off, and it looks exactly like the original curve. Looks exactly like the original curve. But what students often will do is, I don't want to trash my graph. Well, okay, I will. Students oftentimes will draw it like this, right? And turns out that's wrong, because if you notice that this point right here mapped up to there, that's good, and this point right here mapped up to there, and this point mapped up to there, but these points over here mapped in this weird direction, and that's incorrect. So let me see if I can erase that. Shoot, it's not working too good, but maybe that's it. All right, so the way it should look is like this. It marches out like that. And you'll know you've done it right if you draw a dotted line over here. Your book never does this, but if you draw a dotted line over there and both curves bump up against that dotted line, you will know you've done it right. So the name of this blue line is total cost. So we have the total cost curve, the total variable cost curve, and the total fixed cost curve. Okay, I hope that's helpful.